Hello everyone, welcome to another video. It's Mr. Everything English, and as the weather is nice, I thought I'll come out and do some filming. Okay, so today I want to talk about the language question in the English language exam. Now that might sound a bit strange as the whole exam is called English language, but I want to talk specifically about paper 1, question 2 and paper 2, question 3 in the AQA exam board. Now before I go over the question itself, let's talk about how many marks, time and so on. So paper 1 question 2 paper 1 question 2 is worth 8 marks. For an 8-mark question, you want to spend about 10 minutes maximum, and you want to produce 3 paragraphs, and you're looking at PEI, point evidence infer. So guys, point evidence infer paragraphs, 8 marks, 10 minutes, and the question will always be something like, how has the writer used language for something? You want to look at language devices, you want to look at words and phrases, so adjectives and verbs, and you want to look at sentence forms. Paper 2 question 3 is the same question. This time it's worth 12 marks. So what you do is, firstly you spend an extra few minutes, so you spend between 12 and 14 minutes answering this question. Secondly, you make sure that you do one of two things. You either produce 4 paragraphs and not 3 paragraphs, or if you are doing 3 paragraphs, then those 3 paragraphs should be in a little bit more detail. You add a little bit more detail to your explanation. Now that's the exam. Let's go over language devices. Now, by this time of the year, your exam is almost 6 weeks away. I shouldn't be teaching you language devices. This should be second nature. But let's go over them just in case. Let's start with the basics and we'll mix it up as we go along. Okay, let's start with simile. A simile is when you compare two things using like or as. So for example, the tree was as tall as the Eiffel Tower. There's my simile. Metaphor. The tree was the Eiffel Tower. Metaphor is when you compare two things without saying like or as. You're saying something is something. Another example is, for metaphor, a lot of fathers say, my daughter is a princess. She is an angel. He is the devil. These are all metaphors. Oxymoron. This is when you have two opposites side by side, two contrasting views. The dark light, the big midget. These are all examples of oxymoron. Rule of 3. Rule of 3 is when you have 3 words or phrases, 3 adjectives in a row to describe something. So for example, if I said that this park is green, is beautiful and smells nice, there's my rule of 3. I've got 3 words or phrases in a row to describe something, and that adds more detail. Rhetorical question. This is a question posed in writing that normally requires no answer. Onomatopoeia. Crack, bang, boom, tick tock, tick tock. These are words that describe a sound. Next, we could talk about sibilance. This is the repetition of the S letter or the S sound. So for example, the snake slithered slowly and silently down the sand. Alliteration. This is when you have words that are repeated with the first same letter. And yes, there can be a gap in between, but not a big gap. Maybe a word or two. So for example, the big blue ball bounced down the road. B, 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 B. Let's go for repetition. This is when a word or a phrase is repeated throughout the piece of work. Next, let's go for hyperbole. This is when you over exaggerate. I am so angry, I'm going to kill him. No, you're not. That's just you overdoing it. I'm so hungry, I'm going to eat a horse. No, you're not. I'm so tired, I haven't slept all night. Yes, you have slept, but you're over exaggerating. Now look, those are some language devices that that I want to go through. You have to know language devices. There's no point in doing the exam if you don't know language devices, if you don't know structured devices, because you can't answer the question. How are you going to do a language question if you don't know language devices? And the same thing goes for structure. Now in my earlier video, I looked at structure in the extract from the AQA website. I put it up in the video and so on. Now I'm going to use the exact same extract for this video, so I'll put it up on the screen, and I want you guys to see if you can pick out language devices. I'm going to pick them out, but I'm not going to pick out every language device. I'm going to pick out the ones that I think are worth discussing, that I think are effective. Okay, at the corner of Oxford Circus, Rosabelle bought a bunch of violets. Actually, let's talk about every single language device that I can find, and then we'll talk about the best ones. So bought a bunch, BB, you've got alliteration in the first line. And that was practically the reason why she has so little tea. For a scone, a boiled egg, and a cup of cocoa. Rule of 3. So you have 2 language devices in 2 lines. Are not sufficient after a hard day's work in a hat shop. As she swung onto the steps of the bus, grabbed her skirt with one hand and clung to the railing with the other. I would say we have a bit of hyperbole. The word clung implies she's kind of hanging for her life. She's not, she's holding the railing. Rosabelle thought she would have sacrificed her soul. Wow, hyperbole. You have sibilants. For a good dinner. Something hot, strong and filling. And now you have a rule of 3. Now that was the first 5 lines. In the first 5 lines, I lost count. Can you guys drop in the comments below how many language devices there were there? I think 5 or 6. Now you notice one thing. Rule of 3 has come up twice. Sibilants has come up twice. What do? We can't speak about every single rule of 3. We can't speak about every single sibilants, but we pick out the best one. Let's carry on, let's read a little bit more and see if this trend continues, where we can find language devices at ease. Rosabelle looked out of the windows. The street was blurred and misty, but light striking on the panes turned their dullness to opal and silver, and the jeweller's shops seen through this were fairy palaces. If this is my exam, I will speak about 2 things. I will speak of pathetic fallacy, how the mood and the atmosphere is affected by the weather, and I will speak about the metaphor, how these shops were fairy palaces. Fairy palaces make them sound very majestic, very beautiful. Now look, the language device that I pick out will be dependent upon the question. If the question was, how does a writer use language to present the character of Rosabelle, then the language devices that I would use would be as follows. Something hot, strong and filling. The rule of 3 at the end of line 5. I would use that to show the poverty, the suffering, the struggle of Rosabelle. All she wants is something hot. That's a very basic need. Hot food shouldn't be something you really want. She wants something strong and filling. These are basic needs, but the fact that these things are repeated, it emphasizes how much she is struggling. Then I would use a metaphor, fairy palaces. The metaphor implies how Rosabelle almost wants to just escape into a fantasy world. She's sick and tired of her life here, and she wants to go. She wants to just live somewhere else. She doesn't want to be where she is. Now look, guys, that's the first 8 lines. That's the first 8 lines, and I think we picked out about 6 to 8 language devices. For our essay, we just need 3. We just need 3 language devices, all words, all phrases. And then you produce your 3 paragraphs, your point, your evidence. That's there already. And then you explain it. Now I'll do the same thing that I plan on doing in my structure video. I will make a video where I write some model answers on the board and we will go through it together. But for now, please practice. So pull out a source, do exactly what I just did. Pull out a source, highlight the language devices, think about what are the best ones, think about what are the effects of these language devices, and do the part that I will do next time. Try to produce an answer on this. Again, any questions at all, drop me a DM, drop me a message. I try to reply as much as I can. Please don't get upset if I don't reply. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for following me on Instagram. Thank you for subscribing down below. Like the video, share the video. Thank you, guys. It's been Mr. Eveything English.